Hi, my name is Emma Fusselman. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I have a concentration in criminology and a minor in psychology. I got this degree in May of 2023. After that, I spent some time in the master's program in special education, and I quickly learned that it was not for me at all. So I came back to criminal justice, and now I'm getting my master's in behavior crime analysis, which I will graduate next semester with, so I'm very excited. Um, I used to work as a probation monitor for Washington County, so I would keep track of house arrest alerts for the offenders who were on house arrest. So we would get an alert or an email saying that like someone left when they weren't supposed to, if they didn't come back when they were supposed to, if they came back late, stuff like that. And if they needed just like general maintenance under their bracelet. So then I would call them and kind of ask them like where they're at, what they're doing, if they need maintenance under their bracelet. And then I would just email their probation officer with whatever they said, and they would just kind of handle it from there. I also did urine drug testing for the female offenders, and any female who was part of CYS as well for like their court hearings and stuff like that. I was also cross-trained for putting on the bracelets, the ankle monitors, and like all the paperwork and general maintenance and stuff like that. I was also cross-trained for urinalysis, so that would be like the actual testing of the urine samples. I did leave that job, but I did appreciate working there because it kind of gave me like a stepping stone to learning about the criminal justice system and everything. Just kind of what to expect, just overall experience. But now I work as a caseworker with a nonprofit company called Blueprints. I am the Ross coordinator, so I meet with participants who live in subsidized housing. I meet with them for career development, so like building a resume, finding them a job if they don't have a job, finding a better job if they want a better job, holding mock interviews, stuff like that, financial literacy, so building a budget, helping them fix their credit score, stuff like that as well. I can also help with like rental assistance, utility assistance, getting their GED, really anything that they might need, I help them with to an extent. Yeah. I eventually want to go back for a second master's in criminal intelligence analysis through Mercyhurst, and be a criminal intelligence analyst. That is my end career goal. I don't anticipate on getting that anytime soon after I graduate, just so I can get some experience, kind of take a break from school, honestly. But I'm very much looking forward to getting that degree as well. I love learning. I especially love learning about behavior and why people act the way they do, and different like mental disorders, stuff like that. I really like learning about those too. What I expect to get out of this course, just like an overall understanding of how investigation of crime scenes are conducted. That's something that I haven't really learned about yet in my bachelor's or my master's program yet, so I'm intrigued to learn more about it. My personal view of why it's important to solve death investigation cases, I think it's important overall just for the investigators to do their due diligence to determine who the offender is, so that way they can be brought to justice and give the family of the victim peace of mind in a way. Just kind of doing them justice by bringing the offender to court, trial, incarceration, stuff like that, however the trial may proceed. My opinion on why it's important to investigate and prosecute homicide cases properly, I think it all starts with just conducting a proper investigation. So that would be like maintaining the integrity of the crime scene, so like blocking it off so that way the investigators can and like investigate the crime scene, and just to prevent any other contamination due to like the different elements that the crime scene may be in, how the homicide was carried out, stuff like that. And then just like having a check-in list of people who may like come through the crime scene to investigate as well. Just having record of that I think is important, so if there's like any sort of contamination, they might be able to like figure out who contaminated the crime scene. I also think it's important to follow through with like the victimology to help determine the offender. So determining the victimology can help point out who the offender might be based on who they killed. And also just like paying close attention to the details of the crime scene to determine if it was staged. So if anything seems left out of place that doesn't really fit in with the crime scene, is important, and anything that is added to the crime scene or moved that doesn't really fit with the crime scene and how the crime scene looked, like how it was carried out, I think is important too. And then just prosecuting based on these facts to determine who the offender is overall I think is important. And then overall, again, just doing their due diligence to bring justice to the offender, the family of the victim, stuff like that. I believe that unsolved homicide cases are so detrimental to the safety of society. I think there's two main reasons. The first one is there would just be an overall lack of trust within the criminal justice system. So if investigators and police officers, anyone who might have any sort of part in the crime or like the investigation of the crime, if they don't do their due diligence in carrying out like their duties and stuff like that, I think there would be a significant loss of trust within the community to turn to the criminal justice system for safety, to solve any other crimes, stuff like that. And then also just the same offender would possibly continue to carry out homicides. They could also grow in severity as well. And if the investigators were to investigate at the first crime that was committed, do their due diligence and everything, and bring the offender to justice, they would no longer be able to, because they would potentially be caught, be tried, and incarcerated. But if they don't, then there's a significant risk of them just continuing to carry out crime. And obviously this could have been stopped a lot sooner. So, thank you.